Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning. Tuesday. Yesterday, slow week. This morning, a little bit of chaos, but it looks like they've resolved it. Oh, man. Oh, I'm disappointed. By the time I already got here, they already... Oh, well. Oh, well. So what was going on? Well, here in the E-mini, pretty significant drop of about 20, 30 points here because a lot of internet websites went down. Financial Times was down, Reddit was down, Stack Overflow was down. It appears to be related to some sort of a service disruption at Fastly, who is a content provider network. But it doesn't appear to be due to hacking or anything like that, and it looks like they've got it under control. So the E-mini has come roaring back, apparently. And looky here, you got a good example of the inverse rule of the inverse sine rule here, where they've come down and now we've popped back up and we're going to go a little bit higher because of the wake left behind you. So I got that. Treasuries moving a little bit higher today. And so I was saying, hey, like maybe we could fill this gap. They still look bullish, and we got like some supply coming in today. So the treasuries might be one, might have some activity here. I mean, there was a lot stacked on the DOM yesterday. So yeah, I think we need to keep an eye over there. Of course, things still kind of on hold until the CPI data on Thursday. Oil, a little bit of a down move overnight, and silver and gold, well, it looks like, so gold had failed 1900, and it looks like they're already back up above it again. So, kind of getting an interesting chart here in gold. I mean, they keep getting like these big sweeps one direction, but then it comes back. So I don't know, a real battle over there, I guess you could say. Copper continues to just kind of range after that big dump at the beginning of the month. So and then the dollar still seems to be pretty significant driver of action here, just oscillating back and forth around that 90 level again. So, and some rise in it because of that risk off move, but now it looks like they're going to add back to that 90. So and that's basically where we're at. Now, yesterday, when we left, I had a long on in the S&P 500. And so I didn't really have much going on yesterday because I was waiting on some reviews. So I just left it. I mean, I didn't have to do anything. I just left it. And it actually stayed until the end of the session. So that was good. Yesterday actually ended up being an okay day, but I think that I'm able to hold one all day long like that is telling me something. And I think that something is that we need to come over here and change this from 16 to 8. So we need to bring our targets in. So it's just tighter these days. So yeah, Liquidity is saying it was AWS. No, it was Fastly. You know what it reminded me of? Was like the days when Twitter would be down every day. Did any of you use Twitter early enough to be back in the days when Twitter would go down literally every day? And they would have these, they had the fail well. Oh my gosh. I don't think Twitter would have become as big as it did if it wasn't for the fail whale. Because every time it was down, everybody was talking about the fail whale. And so the people started checking out Twitter because of that. Oh, look at that. Yeah, big old fatty iceberg right there, huh? Well, I'm kind of tempted to try and scalp it for a tick, but I think in that particular case, maybe not. Oh man, see, that's going to be like a 10K. You can see the 30-year pulling up, so it does kind of look like that they're going to pull them up, but there's... Okay, so let me verify here again. It was 3-year no auction. Yes, that's correct. 3-year no auction today. Really well, and we do have like imports and exports here in the next minute. Hey, K-Pasa, hey, how are you doing? Where have you been, Keller? Been slacking. He's been off playing meme stocks again, I know it. Trying to make a fortune on AMC now. You bought AMC yesterday at 51? Why yesterday, man? If you gotten in at like 30. Some of the things that I read are just so ridiculous. About AMC. Like, you get these guys on TikTok, they're like, it could literally be worth $100,000, and I'm like, yes, AMC is going to be worth more than the entire GDP of the world. Okay, here's that news coming through. This is slightly lower than forecast. Okay, well, they got through the iceberg. It was an 8K. Look, they're stacking that. They're stacking that, mama. Look at that. I'm at 600 in line, and I'm not going to get filled. But too slow. Hey, it was worth a shot. If I had gotten filled on that, that would have been great, right? Look at it go. Okay, now they're more in line, though, so... Let's see. I had a friend, he was asking me if I should buy more at like 16, and I was like, no, and just started mooning, and he's been on my case ever since, so I gave in about a tiny bit just so he can't keep it. That would be a bad reason to take a trade, dude. Somebody else bothered you about it. I mean, here's the thing you got to realize. So there was a lot of shorts in AMC, yes, but this was kind of triggered by like the AMC CEO doing things, and then they did the offering, and I just here's the thing that you got to remember. Yeah, one big fallacy that everybody is prone to. It's like we all know better, but we do it all the time. Is that you can't. Sometimes things just happen randomly. You know, just because it's going up doesn't mean that it's a good opportunity. That's the fallacy. Sometimes we fall into this thing like, well, it went up, so I should have been in. But if there was no way for you to have predicted what was going to happen, then, you know, based off of the information that you knew at the time, then it wasn't a good trade. Leverage funds, heavily short treasuries. This is all a big squeeze, apparently, says Uzi. I think so. Like, well, I don't know if the movement up is necessarily a short squeeze, but what's going on is, I think, is that all of the banks need treasuries right now. Like, you notice I've been buying past 2 days, always buying. Because I look at those reverse repos and I say, there's not enough treasuries. I've been around, but I keep falling asleep from like 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. So it's just kind of been opposite schedule. Oh, I get you. You got to go to bed early, Kyle. Early bird gets the worm. The early bird definitely got the worm today, man. I haven't seen a move like that in the equities. Last time I think something like that happened was that time that Peter Navarro said that like I forget what the comment was, but he said something about trade with China and everybody thought it was an official statement and panicked. You remember that one? Oh, that was a good trade. If you played, I didn't play that one because it was overnight, but that would have been easy call. Like I came into Discord. Yep, this is going to go back up. Easy call. I am bearish on AMC and I'm still bearish. I don't even believe this trade, but ironically it's been working so far, so I'm just trailing out my stuff now and I've locked in the profits. Well, so the thing that was interesting to me about AMC was that the shorts didn't appear to cover at all in this instance. So I don't know what the deal is there. Like, how did they do that? How did we have such a huge move up and no shorts covered? So I think that's why it's still going. But you got to be careful with that because there's so much volume trading in it that anybody that wanted to get out certainly had the opportunity. There was more than enough liquidity to do it. Like when these short squeezes, the way that it gets popularized on Reddit and everything, it helps the shorts more than it hurts them, I think. If they were forced to buy into this, oh man, like look at that. They are just going to force this. I'm so mad I didn't get filled. That was such a good call. Probably 15.5 isn't too bad, but I mean, they're really trying to squeeze it up, but I don't know if I get 16. Yeah. Okay. I might actually be able to get 16 now. Yeah. Cool. The problem that I was having there is they were all in line and I didn't see any indication that anybody was like looking for it to go there. So I wasn't sure. Well, I made my one tick. Let's go. Oh, snap. Uzi says, our contractor's coming by today, so I made my trade early. Took a long down at 17 and only took 6 ticks on it. Oh, I didn't even really think about how far it had gone since before that, but I mean, we saw it there on the volume profile. This is like a big move overnight, but I wonder. I had it at 14.5. You know, like if I had it at 14.5 and then I see a 6K stack like that, like I should cancel it and let it run for a few ticks. That's a dopey signal. That is a dopey signal, dude. Just the cross of the super smoother. Wow. I suppose the super smoother isn't like a terrible entry. It looks like for now they've balanced out. They might come back to that 15 and fill that big old stack at 15. I don't have patience in summer. I mean, I don't know. The thing is the action in the summer is really awful, and it tends to be really slow, and I wouldn't recommend trading it live all the time. But like you can get really good practice in the summer too, right? Can't whine looking at you made 6 ticks. It's not like like on the thing with the super smoother is if you were expecting a move up. I mean, if you were really expecting a move up, the super smoother is probably one of the better entries that you're going to get because it tracks the price so closely. It is, from our back tests, the best filter. So, it's not a bad. It's just like with the simple moving average over here in the E-mini. It's like if you really think that it's going to go a certain direction and you wait for that cross of the 10, it's not a terrible entry. It's just that like it doesn't really predict that we're trending up or trending down. The filters, they really aren't very predictive at all. The reason that the filters seem to have some efficacy is because you can catch the start of a trend. If I weren't rushing myself out today, I'd have made my month before the equities open. Oh, really? Off of just 6 ticks? So then tell me this, Izzy. Have you kind of gone back to not taking super wide trades? Because I remember when you first came in, you were like, you would only look for like 1 tick. Oh, if I weren't rushing, I'd have made my month. Yeah, okay, never mind. Because that would have been almost a whole point. That would have been a whole point almost. That would have been like $900 on 1 contract. Well, whatever. I made my 1 tick, and I'm happy with that. Because here's why I'm happy with it. Because I was only in it for 3 seconds. That's the way I want to do it. Not saying there's not other ways to trade the treasuries that I probably need to go back and look at and see that are maybe effective, but my goal here lately has been to try and sort out taking out a quick 1 tick based on certain things, and it appears possible. You just have to have the right action. I went from 1 tickers, which went well for a while, but as my account got bigger, I moved to larger swings, usually 8 tick targets. Well, wait, how many, if you don't mind, how many lots did you get up to when you decided that 1 tick wasn't enough anymore? I mean, the ZB is pretty thick right now, 5 to 6. Yeah. Like the ZB is super thick right now. It's stacking 600s on there, but back when it was like 100 to 200, I could kind of see where maybe 5 to 6 for 1 tick might be a problem. I think the way that I'm doing it right now, probably the most I could get away with is maybe somewhere between 500 and 1,000. was waiting for the day it all caved in on me. You kept talking about it. I kept thinking about it. So like I had to make a change. Well, but you've done pretty well since then. You come in a little bit earlier, so I think that helps you for one thing. So I was one of the things was that John, he had been trading, and he had been trading on something like really was like trading RSIs. He seemed to be doing well with it. And when I was looking at it, a big part of why he was doing well was because he was trading up at like 6 Eastern time on the E-minis. And so he was catching some of those really, really early trends. Except for, the beginning of last year, that I got, yeah. We all did. We all did, didn't we? Although I was, I've been trying to look at studies relating to momentum and predictive models. I found one yesterday that was like a meta-analysis. So he had this study had a list of like 30 studies that had been done just over the past 4 years or something like that. Like they were going back to 2012, I think. Different strategies, and they had listed out what technical indicators they had used, what forms of analysis or machine learning they had used, and what the time frame of them was. So on that list, I think there was 4 that were like intraday. So I went in and I started reading some of those. And in those predictive models, I started to see a couple of things that like I didn't expect to see, And one of the things was that it was like they worked well in some markets and not well in others. And it's summertime, so I figured I was lucky the market even moved 6 ticks. Didn't expect, yeah. Well, so here's why. Let me show you something. So here's the news squawk for today. U.S. Open rundown, 8th June. I read this when I'm in the shower. Okay, scrolling down, and then towards the bottom, they'll do fixed income and then commodities, okay? Fixed income is usually like 4 sentences. Fixed income is usually like 4 sentences, and look at this huge paragraph they wrote about it. More broadly, fundamental focus remains on the U.S. inflation numbers and the ECB decision due Thursday, but before then, today's supply slate is in the spotlight with the U.S. 3-year. The headline overall, but EGB's fixating on Italian syndication on this, demand for the 10-year is in excess of euro 60 billion, and price guidance has been tightened from BTP 9 billion to, plus 9 basis points to 6 basis points. The last 10-year syndication saw 14 billion sold, though this was at the height of the pandemic in June 2020. And a better comparison can be found from February, where dual tranche outing saw 10 billion assigned to the 10-year. So right away, I knew that the treasuries were probably going to be active, right? And I was kind of thinking that because of what's been going on in repo world, that they would probably be wanting to buy. I didn't expect it to be big stacks like that, though. That was a pleasant surprise. Anyways, what was my point with talking about those studies? There was a couple of things that was in there that I was like, I didn't expect. Oh, I remember. So there was one, the one that seemed to be like the most positive, and they were in the summary. They say it gets a Sharpe ratio of 0.98, which they consider to be economically significant. I was like, sharp of 0.98's like kind of like still, like on the edge. Like, my understanding is if you're going to run like a hedge fund, you should be trying to get like 1.5 to 2, which is really crazy hard, by the way. I think I've had one that got 1.5 and that was probably overfitted. Right? So they came in and it was like 0.98. I'm like, what? Are my like goals and benchmarks in my head like that far off? Back when I was doing one tick trades, I had a friend who's a prop trader. He didn't think it was a bad strategy because of the scalability, but also saw the pitfalls in a losing streak being extremely painful. Well, one of the issues with the way that I've been trading for sure is that if you get on the wrong side of it, then there is like a sweep down through you, that can get really ugly, because I'm putting the limit order out there to just kind of make sure that I get out at -1 no matter what. But if they just sweep through me, I would have to have a protective stop in there. So there's a possibility in some situations, and it's happened to me many times, where I could lose 2, 3, 4, and that would really hurt, right? So I kind of wonder to myself how much of it is realistic and how much of it is just kind of an exercise for me. I'm still uncertain how confident I am about trying to trade what I'm doing live for one tick. But then I come back to that, like, when it comes to uninformed strategies, that is strategies that don't rely on knowing information about the market. It's just about the only thing I've come across that really seems consistent. So I don't know. There's probably more. You know what I need to do is what I really want is I read that book about order flow. I forget who it was that recommended to it, but that was the best tip I ever got on this channel, was that freaking book. I learned so much from that book, and it wasn't even so much that I had learned so much. It was like that there was all of this stuff that I kind of knew was a thing, but I don't know where they got it from or how they proved it. And then they came through, and I was like, oh, here's all this information. Why doesn't everybody know this? Well, what I need is a book like that for equity indexes. Like, they would just go into the the level 2. We're talking about markets under the microscope. Just warning you, it's a very heavy math book. This is like a textbook for a college course, okay? But I loved it. Was that the one Clark sent? I don't remember who sent it. They're probably yapping. They're probably lurking right now, and they're like, "Oh, that was me. That was me." Because last time we talked about it, they came back through. I still have to read that one. Wow. The thing is there's like the math of it and everything, but I can tell you the major conclusions that they have made. Okay. Number one, when there is an inefficiency in the market, trading that inefficiency removes the inefficiency from the market. This is a theory that I think almost every trader has heard about, but the key point in there is that they've literally proven with models how that function works. And so much so that they can calculate the optimal number of contracts to arbitrage out the inefficiency. And that's the key thing. So this whole idea that you see people out there where they say, you just follow the other algorithms. Like these algorithms, they know what they're doing, so just follow them, is patently ridiculous, because any algorithm that's worth its salt will know the optimal number of contracts. And so trying to follow the algorithm will just reduce the edge on it and lead to you losing money because the algorithm's already in. So that's the first one, okay? So you can calculate the optimal number of contracts to trade in inefficiency. It's called Markets Under the Microscope by some French guy. Yep, financial markets. It starts like trades, markets, orders, blah 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 blah. Yeah. Anyways, so that's the first big takeaway that I get from it. And then conversely, the market will start to appear random because those edges have been taken out. But they have also proven that there are inherent inefficiencies in the order book, in particular dealing with areas where there isn't a lot of latent liquidity, and so we will kind of get stuck around those areas, which is one of the major causes of the distribution in volume profiles. So the distribution in a volume profile shows up because of an inherent inefficiency in the market relating to using a limit order book. Okay, so this is the next big one. Then the next big conclusion that they come at is that markets tend to move a large meta order, that is like a really big order that's been split up over time. There is a limit on the amount of impact that it will have. There's a certain point at which more contracts does not have more impact on the market, and it tends to follow a square root law. And because of that square root law, there are certain kinds of events that, well, they don't explicitly say this, but the conclusion that I have discovered from this, the big takeaway from this, is that there are certain things that a large institution really can't price in fast enough. They just can't get into the trade fast enough. So that's why so much of my trading since then has been based off of wait for an event of that nature to occur and just take advantage of it where the large institutions can't get in fast enough because of that square root law. So those are but when they really go into it, they have all of these models. And if you read the book, you would be able to go and make a market making algorithm of this sort that is putting most of the liquidity out there. So then that's the other big takeaways. You kind of understand how those work. And when you understand how those work, what you realize is that these robots don't really know what's going on at all. All they know is like a certain amount of volume is coming through, and so they pull. Like you saw it on the way up here, right? It was like somebody stacked 7K on there, and a bunch of volume had already been coming through, and so those offers pulled because they didn't want to have the adverse excursion against them. Right? Those are the things that we learned from it. Anyways, it was really detailed and it was mathematical and all those sorts of things. So then I come over here and I look at the E-mini index futures and I think, okay, are there inefficiencies of that nature inherent in equity indexes? Surely there must be. Surely there's certainly some sort of a strange oscillation to the S&P 500 that's really hard to sort out, because the oscillation is always there, but like the period of it is constantly changing. And when it goes, how it goes from like a really strongly trending to not really strongly trending is definitely different from how the Treasuries does that. And I think I have a hard time sorting that out sometime, because order flow doesn't work the same way in equity indexes. Well, that is like dying down really quickly. Hey, Pierre. Maybe it was Pierre that, I don't remember who it was. New stop would have shaved shorts says, oh, Biogen, yeah. I read about that one was like crazy. Oh, I should have my Twitter open here, huh? Well, now that's an interesting thought here. 6:30. Well, there was a lot of that move after the U.S. trade deficit news. 32,855 in Bitcoin. Bitcoin slides 7% after U.S. seizes most of Colonial Pipeline ransom. That wasn't that much, though. The FBI was able to access the private key or password for one of the hackers' Bitcoin wallets. Okay, I need to read that because yesterday I thought it was that they were using Coinbase, and that's how they knew. According to a court document, the Federal Bureau of Investigation was able to access the private key or password of one of the hackers' Bitcoin wallets. Crypto media outlet Decrypt reported there were unfounded rumors that attackers' Bitcoin wallet had been hacked, an unlikely scenario. Yeah, I don't know. So Nassim Nicholas Taleb was on this yesterday and was really interested in it, and he was showing people how with some of the common mathematical software that he uses that you can look up this blockchain information, and he had the specific address that was involved, and he said that it belonged to Coinbase. So it sounded like that the FBI had tracked it and had found that the hackers were putting the money on Coinbase and trying to exit there. And so they just had Coinbase freeze the wallet and give it to them. But that story here on CNBC kind of does suggest that they hacked the wallet somehow. I don't believe that that's what's actually happening. This warrants further investigation. I even though I only took one tick out of that crazy move on the upside there, you know, I got what I wanted. We should look at this. Crypto YouTubers need to tone down a notch and not cause massive panic every other day. There's another Colonial Pipeline one. And that maybe I have to go by new. Maybe. Yeah, here's this guy right here. Jordan Sachtel. I'm having a tough time believing that the supposedly Russian hacking network was so sophisticated it could shut down our infrastructure, but not knowledgeable enough to maintain safe custody over their Bitcoin. We're missing the whole story here. The Russian hacking claim has been used illegitimately so many times in recent years that it's impossible to know if the feds are being truthful about these matters. Messaging about Colonial Pipeline incident is a total mess. I have no idea what to believe about this. Here's a perfect example of the confusion. Why do you need a court order if you have the password to their wallet? The reverse is also true. If the Bitcoin was transferred to a custodial wallet, you don't need the password. There you go. Yeah, so this Jordan guy, he was saying this 17 hours ago, is saying the exact same thing that I am. Okay, but wait, on this one there are like 18 comments. Let's see. Tesla is up. Okay. What if Bitcoin? So in Bitcoin, you have a big drop like this, and then a lot of people will come in and say, oh, this is just like the 50% decline. We've had declines like this in the past, yada, yada, yada. My metrics show that we were already to like a crescendo event. So what we are seeing here, I think, is likely to be another complete collapse, like an 80% decline. And I wouldn't put below 20K outside of reason, because 20K was kind of where a lot of really big fish got in and would need to be washed out. So but on the split side of that, I also think that the situation in the market is such that the next wave could come back around very quickly. Like before, it used to be like the Mount Gox was years and years, and then this past one was basically like 3 years. But this one, it might only be like a few months. Like we might have the 80% drop, and then they try and push to a new high later in the year. Yeah, below 20K would be a big oof if true, sure. Anyways. Here's the claim from the Department of Justice statement. How did the FBI obtain more info from the wallet here? So it looks like I was right. The FBI did not obtain the private keys. Instead, they took legal action against an exchange or some kind of custodial wallet that has servers in North Carolina. Then he says, Coinbase, lol, these hackers were grossly incompetent. Okay, so it sounds to me like these people saying the stuff about the password are misreading what happened. The description by the New York Times cyber beat reporters is not what happened. To be clear, there was no hack. Feds did not do something innovative here. They used legal mechanisms and tracked a publicly available ledger to secure the Bitcoin from this alleged hacking group. Okay. Another story has emerged that the Fed secured funds by IDing the perps through some kind of sting operation and proceeded to demand they send the stolen funds to an FBI-controlled address stateside. Huh. Yeah, it means, I don't know. There's a lot of confusion around that point. Now, this also kind of suggests that this decline that we're having over the past day is probably not related to that. So I was having another discussion with somebody on there. Let me tell you what, man. The internet is just freaking drives me crazy sometimes. So I don't get it. You come in and you say, hey, like, here's this technical analysis stuff. If anybody questions that whether or not it works, that just means that they're a bitter, unprofitable trader that doesn't know anything. And everybody believes them, and it gets thousands of upvotes. But then if you come in and you say, look, here is an empirical fact about the way that markets function that is based on 30 years worth of scholarly research, and nobody believes you. I don't get it. So they were talking about Michael Saylor putting out more debt yesterday, right? I do technical analysis, but I'm still bitter. Listen, if you're a trader and you're not bitter, you haven't been trading long enough. That's facts, man. Michael Saylor taking out more debt to buy more Bitcoin. That's a good thing, though. I mean, I suppose if he's going to buy more Bitcoin, but I'm sitting here like, who is giving this guy money? Like, oh my gosh, you're crazy to be funding him with that much money. With that much money, it's insane. It's crazy. Anyways, so people were kind of speculating about like, oh well, like has he made money or not? Because one poster said that there's still up $1 billion on their position, and I'm like, that's no, because wasn't his average at 35? 35? Yeah, I think his average was 35. But maybe I'm thinking of somebody else. Maybe I've got that wrong. Maybe that was Alon. I don't know. Anyways, 35,000. So, but then they were like, if he sold $1 billion worth of Bitcoin, like what kind of an impact would it have? And I said, well, you can estimate it. And this guy was like, no, you can't do that. Blah, 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 blah. And I was like, look, like it's happened before. We can, you can do it. I think that this guy was concerned about the whole thing that's like, if you want to cash out, the exchanges won't have it. Well, listen, if you were Michael Saylor and you decided to sell all of your Bitcoin all of a sudden, not that you would, but if you decided to do that, given current market conditions, he would be able to do so. And it would have an impact on the price, and we can estimate it, right? The guy didn't believe me. I was just like, why ain't he not? So it's so crazy. Without bad investors in the market, there wouldn't be any opportunities, I suppose. But all it does is make me feel lonely and crazy. I go through and I have that argument, and then I go and I decide to play Overwatch. So I'm trying to play DPS Overwatch, and when I first started playing it, I was doing okay. I was winning like 50% of the time. I was coming up to like a new high on the season and everything. And then it's like you start losing every freaking time. No matter what, you lose. I'm like, what's going on? Why am I, surely that can't be random. I'm doing something wrong. What is it? I gave up and I started playing a different character. I go through that and I'm like, am I just like losing my, like when I'm not on my medication in the morning, I'm just slow now or something? I don't get it. And that makes me feel crazy. It makes me start to question. But then I go back and I look at this, it's like, I'm not. I mean, I'm very logical. I'm not having delusions or anything. I just don't. Reinhardt, Dash Spam. I don't know if the tank is well. I used to play the Diva role a lot, but I never played the main tank role a lot. The thing is like when I play as Ashe, I think that I'm getting a lot of damage, but I must be making certain decisions that aren't clear to me, that are actually harmful to my team. And then then I was like, oh, well, I'll just play as McCree. That's what everybody's playing as. And then it was like, there was a Pharah and you couldn't, it's like 3 hits to kill the Pharah and they have the Mercy. It's like impossible to kill them. It's so annoying. And you get them down 2 and then they just hide behind a wall. So you can't, and then they rejuvenate. And it's like, oh, DPS isn't doing anything. And I'm like, I'm doing this. This is like, it's hard. And here I'm like, I'm at low. How is this so hard? How am I doing so poorly? Everybody else does this. It's easy. What? I don't get that. So, well, Pharah is a good counter for anything low ELO, right? Because none of them know how to deal with it. I think that you get into the higher ranks and then Pharah comes out and everybody's trying to hit her out of the sky. Yeah. And the explosions have a really wide splash damage now. Holy crap. There's lots of things. And then on top of that, the ash range, so there's like a fall off on her damage when she's zoomed in. Most of you guys here don't know anything about Overwatch, don't care probably. But no, there's a fall off on her range. So if you're Ash trying to hit the Pharah out of the sky, you have to hit her like 4 or 5 times. It's stupid. Which is not a good counter. Anyways, when you go in and you lose like a bunch of times in a row, it's really like, what am I doing wrong? You know? There was another one. I think it was last night. It was on TikTok, and this guy was responding to a comment on one of his earlier posts about the origin of the virus. This was about the origin of the virus, and they're like what's more likely that the most, you know, most repressive regime in the world, and there was a cover up, you know. That was what the comment was said. I don't think that it was a very good comment. Like it was so shortened that it's kind of odd to see like what kind of conclusion they were trying to put forward. But the guy took it as trying to teach this fallacy about like what is more likely, that you got mugged or that you got mugged in an alleyway or in the shady part of town. Well, since being mugged in the shady part of town is a subset of being mugged, is actually less common overall. True. And it was trying to apply that to the pandemic to say that it was just a conspiracy theory. And I'm like, no, I don't think that applies here at all. Like, this is a deductive reasoning fallacy. Whether or not there was a cover-up by the Chinese government has no bearing on whether or not it came from a lab. I mean, come on, the Chinese would cover things up no matter what. Honestly. And similarly, the fact that all past pandemics originated from another species, from a virus crossing over from another species, that they originated naturally, has no bearing on whether or not this one originated naturally. Yeah, I suppose that the probability is low. You could argue that the probability is low, but it's the same deductive reasoning flaw that, you know, hey, past results are not indicative of future results, right? And I'm like, how could he be so wrong about how he's trying to apply this logic here? People forget about the door welding and massive clouds of sanitizer. Well, I kind of still wonder if China was just trying to scare everybody. That China wanted the rest of the world to overreact. I don't know. The thing is that the scenes that we got from both China and Italy never happened here. I guess we were just better prepared for it. I guess. I don't know. I don't know. Kind of weird though. It's kind of weird. I think that what's happening there is that, oh, good morning, Ace. I think what's happening there is that you, at the beginning, many liberally minded people really clamped down on that it being escaped from a lab was a conspiracy theory that was false. And I think that theory was unduly dismissed early on by experts without really having any information. So now you go back and you look at it, and there was reports that workers from the lab were sick around the correct time. And there was even an agency that did a report that suggested that it was synthetically created. And then you've had all of these other studies that have some have said that it was synthetically, and some of them say that it's naturally created. But I think that you have enough information there to suggest that it's a viable possibility, and it can't just be dismissed, right? So I think that some liberals are doubling down on the old way of thinking, essentially. So here he is, he's coming into a situation, he's looking at what is a bad argument anyways, and so he just jumps to some sort of logical fallacy that really has nothing to do with the issue at hand, which is does the evidence point to a lab leak or not? You know, it's that simple. I think the reason that one bothered me is because it's the same fallacy that I see people make in trading, right? So they say, well, I can look at a very particular setup and I can see that it works out the certain way 70% of the time. That's a deductive reasoning fallacy. You're saying A leads to B, A is true, therefore B. That's a deductive reasoning fallacy because A doesn't necessarily lead to B. There's absolutely A does not necessarily cause B, right? If I push you, then you are going to move forward because there's going to be a transfer of force from my hand to your back, right? I'm causing that thing to happen. A is causing B. Me pushing is causing you to move, okay? But if the S&P 500, if it crosses a moving average and then there's a big move up, that cross of the moving average was not necessarily what caused the thing. So you can't make this deductive reasoning conclusion that the cross of this thing is likely to lead to an up move. There's a correlation there historically that you don't even know why it's there, and it could just be random. And this is the fallacy that people are making with technical analysis all the time. And there could be some happenings in the market that do lead to possibilities, and you might not be able to know why, but they would still lead to pretty consistent behaviors. Sure. But I say that a better way to predict things is to actually look for real cause and effects, right? Bunch of really important internet websites went down, so we sold, and then they fixed the problem, so we moved back up, right? Now I can make a deductive, kind of more of a deductive logic there, and I have a much greater probability of being able to correctly predict what's going to happen when I look for things that actually have cause and effect, rather than just some magical probability that exists. Look up COVID fridge trucks in New York. Oh, I guess you're right. I don't know. What I was getting at, Ether Ader, was that after the pandemic began, I never saw any of these videos of like hospitals being overwhelmed or any of this kind of crazy stuff. CV. What do you mean by CV? Oh, the coronavirus. You think it's just a flip? Well, I think part of the reality of the situation is that the U.S. did very much try to crush the curve in certain areas, and so much so that they got to the point when people were getting vaccinated, and now there's so many people vaccinated that you never really got to see how bad the pandemic could get. And if this was like 1920, it would have been really ugly. Without it being isolated, how can you test for it? Well, now this is an interesting topic. I don't know a whole lot about how this genetic testing sort of stuff works. You isolate a certain protein that is generated by the virus, and then you take samples and you test for that. And because it's, there's not a lot of them, you go through and you go through this process that will like duplicate that fragment, DNA fragment, or whatever the deal is. And you have to do that a bunch of times. And the issue is that the number of times that they're doing it could lead to false positives. And when you actually look at the statistics, the number of false positives that you can have is actually significant. So he's not pulling something out of nowhere, Ace. It's just that what happens is they take that and then they lead to this really huge erroneous conclusion that the coronavirus doesn't even exist, which is just absolute nonsense, right? Like we definitely know that it exists. And we definitely know that it's pretty but has an above average hospitalization rate, and that it has the potential to overwhelm your healthcare system, and that happened in some countries. Yeah, the theories are alive and well every time there was a virus. I don't know, man. The QAnon thing is really weird because, oh my gosh, freaking the Donald, man. It's really disappointing to me to see the way that website has gone since the election. So after the election, the QAnon guys were still quite active there, and they were really pushing stuff. And I think that they played a really big part in how the whole Capitol riot thing kind of went down, because they were very much convinced that the president could overturn the election, essentially. Well, that they could reject the results and send it back to the states and force some sort of an investigation or something of that nature. But it came down to Pence doing it, and no, it wasn't going to happen. Like the thing is even if Pence had, I don't know, one guy can't come in and like overturn the whole thing. It wouldn't have worked the way that they think. It's kind of interesting that it came out, but it wouldn't work. But all those QAnon guys all think that Mike Pence is like a traitor and stuff because of that. Okay, so that's how it was going on. And then the QAnon people all thought that like something was going to happen at the day that they were going to, vote on it. And then they all thought that something was going to happen before Joe Biden was inaugurated. And nothing happened. Like nothing happened. All of the predictions that was coming out on 4chan were just completely wrong. And it was at that point, it was such a critical and important point for people that they basically gave up on QAnon. I mean, like, there's still people out there, but I would bet that it's probably a quarter of what it was. Okay? Probably a quarter of what it was. But the problem is that these individuals that were taken in by the QAnon have not changed their ways. They continue to look at speculation on the internet, and believe like everything that they read that kind of sounds good to them. You know, so this is where I hear all sorts of crazy things. One person was saying that you'll get blood clots if you take an airplane flight that goes above 30,000 feet, which is completely ridiculous because an airplane is pressurized at 8,000 feet. I asked my wife about this, and she said, no, that's ridiculous because the cabin is pressurized at 8,000 feet. So that wouldn't happen. That's ridiculous. You know, there's all of these sorts of things going on, and those people are still there on the Donald. And then another thing has been happening on the Donald that is very concerning to me, and that is there's anti-Semitism there now. So it used to be when it was on Reddit, if somebody said anything even remotely anti-Semitic, it would get deleted. It would just straight up get deleted. And part of it was probably because they wanted to avoid the Reddit coming in and doing stuff, you know? But I also think that another part was that Reddit was permabanning people that you don't want on the website anyways. Okay, like the Stormers. I forget what the name of that website is, but there's this website that's basically for KKK people. That's like the something Stormer or something like that. And these people will like infiltrate Reddit subreddits, and they tend to be anti-Semitic. So now you go on the Donald, and it's like every thread there's something anti-Semitic. It's just like freaking out of nowhere, like, oh, this is the fault of the Jews. It's so absolutely freaking ridiculous. And like I don't hear anybody saying anything about it. Nobody on the website. Like a couple of people will try and say stuff in the comments, but it seems like that the people that are like, you know, I don't want to have anything to do with the anti-Semitism, are like diminishing. And so it appears to me that Patriot.win has basically been abandoned. So now the largest ultra conservative hub is r/conservative on Reddit, which is kind of bleh. Because of this stupid conspiracy theory bullshit. People continually over and over again believing claims that had absolutely no proof behind them. Squawk's talking. Well, today's starting up very much like yesterday did. Okay, well, first move. So this is very much like how it started out yesterday, isn't it? We need ace points. Thinking about the conspiracy theory thing, like another problem, I think, is that I definitely see liberals pursue conspiracy theory type of stuff. Actually, more so than conservatives. But it never takes off the way that it does in the conservative. You know, like, I don't know, man. It's really weird. Like all the conspiracy theories that Donald Trump was a Russian asset, for instance, like that was so widespread on Reddit, right? But like it doesn't turn into a movement. You know what I mean? There's not, now that it's been discredited, there's not this group of people that seem to think that like something's going to happen and like they're making, you know, it's like the nature of it is just different. It's so weird. It's like Republicans and Democrats are equally likely to believe a conspiracy theory, I think, but conservatives like internalize it differently. Now, a little bit more down action there. The issue that I see is I still see that 4,200 down below us as a little bit of an attractor. I'm wondering if that's maybe why we've been seeing some downside movement. Also, there was, like I said, the squawk was talking. So World Bank forecasts 2021 growth for emerging markets ex-China at 4.4 compared to January's forecast of 3.4. Global inflation to rise about 1 percentage point in 2021. This may not warrant a policy response. Like, I don't know if that has anything to do with anything or is a cause of the movement. I mean, like, it's down. I'm a little wary about trying to take the momentum there. I'm not quite sure what it is that I need to see, but you know, well, it does kind of just more random action again. You know what? Probably a part of the problem here, though, is that the 10-year had that really huge move up and then came back very quickly, and it was I mean, it must have been a short squeeze of some sort over there because it didn't really see anything happening other place. Well, I guess the Japanese yen was moving up. Gold definitely moved on it. But not the E-mini, really. The volume's not terrible. Treasury's going to push low of the day now. After all of that? Okay, so there's a stop run to the lower. I see Ace had a run for the hills. You're just saying a bunch of... No. I mean, that's probably Salim or whatever. Because he's just saying a bunch of nonsense that doesn't make any sense. So there's just decently large prints happening down here, but they were also happening up here. But that those 8,000s and thousands are actually quite common here. Like I said, like the volume is not terrible. kind of forget how I have this set up with the Bauer meters. No, it's not that one. It's this one. 30 seconds and 300 seconds. Okay. Should probably make room for these. Have you built any trades around the opening price as a reference or lane? So I've definitely done a bunch of studies about like the opening. So I found that the extended session open is a more useful indication than the regular session open. But generally speaking, you can kind of use whether we're above or below the open as a pretty effective filter. But I would be really careful about trying to base anything off of, what price it was at the open is kind of random to some extent, right? So like, it's a little iffy. It's a little iffy to think that would have any kind of predictive power for us. You know what I mean? I'm much more interested in if I can find an efficiency in the way that the market is valuing things. You know what I mean? There we go. Yeah, I hear you. So I don't always go into specifics, but I'm generally looking at multiple instruments and trying to see some sort of an inefficiency in them. That or something that would have like real cause and effect. Well, the Treasury's recovering there a little bit. I'd say that's a significant move. Pretty in line across the board, though. No change in the spreads off of that one. I don't think the knowledge within even knows what he's saying. The 6J has been helpful since you added. Has the 6J actually? Yes. I wish that I could see it better, to be honest. I still find myself, I'm probably going to get stopped out here, but that was enough of a, like, I want to get out of this trade. Well, let's see what happens, I guess. I still find myself looking over at the chart more than anything. But I tell you what, when the 6J moves, these move for sure. So it definitely helps to be able to see. And same over here on the E-mini, like being able to see when one of these is taking off first before the others and drags them is useful. Adrian. Adrian says, I just dropped by the stream to say you're a crackhead. This is funny, man. Thanks, Adrian. And yes, the 6J plus yield curve movement is an awesome confirmation of price action. Yeah. Like the place where I seem to see a lot of inefficiencies often is when two instruments are supposed to be correlated, but there is some sort of a big trade happening in only one of them. You know, like the 10-year is pushing up, like they really want to buy the 10-year, and of course the 30 and the 5 would move, but they lag because they're just trading the correlation of it of this. And so it's like, it's so much easier to get the fill over in these ones than it is this one, or vice versa. So it's the same thing with the 6J, is like, sometimes you'll get these moves in the treasuries that are just like 4 ticks, one direction, and you're like, where the hell did that come from? But when you have the 6J out there, you just go, oh, it's just arbitrage with the currency correlation. Now, I see moves like that in the E-mini sometimes too, but I don't necessarily know where they come from. I have a pretty good idea of where they come from when it happens in the treasuries. It's pretty rare that I'm like completely lost over there. I don't know what caused that big move up, at the beginning, but that probably was treasury specific, probably a stop run. Over here in the E-mini though, like yesterday I had a pretty good 10 tick move down. The volume wasn't that crazy. It's like, where did that come from? I have no clue. I don't know what that was all about. Maybe it was just random. I mean, it did come back later in the day and it was pretty tight most of the day, so. Okay, well, there was a gap down here. We appear to be moving back up. I'm wondering if I'm safe to try and move this up to the 20. I'm just going to put one there in case I decide to cancel. It's still kind of tight. They're still kind of having some trouble there, so... Okay. Yep, they are buying. Okay. I don't know. I think that there's probably still some things that I could find in the E-mini. We need to do more research. There's got to be properties about the way that the S&P 500 moves inherent to the fact that it is an index, similar to there are inherent inefficiencies on how everything with a limit order book moves. Ouch. Well, it was looking really good there, and it turned back down awfully quickly, didn't it? Some big absorption down at the lows and big icebergs trading in the 10-year too. Another little touch of stop run there. I don't know. Maybe 8 is too tight. I mean, that was probably just a bad trade overall, but it should last longer than that, right? I don't like the way that one went. Okay, well, the downside is starting to get 3,000. I don't know.
Block sell.
Yep. Reminds me of yesterday. Well, I got hosed on that one in the treasury. I would have gotten it if I had been earlier to the trade. How much is it now? 4,000 almost. Man, the AC turned on in here and it's gotten so much colder all of a sudden. Should have just gone short, huh? Well, it's getting to the point now where I can try. Yeah, that wasn't very good. Thought I was getting a good spot here in the 10-year, but I don't know if that was actually that great. Are you going to turn back down again already? So there was a couple of aggressive buy orders that came through in the E-mini. It did seem to flip the momentum, but so far they're still having a hard time lifting themselves up off of the lows. Gold not doing too hot right now. Failed again there in the treasury, huh? Well, that one probably just doesn't make much sense, did it? I don't know. I was just thinking, there's two-way volume there and I can get one, but it wasn't enough, apparently. Oh my gosh. He was talking about your IP. Yeah, he was. He's like, oh, you're the same person. I'm like, this is so dumb. Yeah, let's run with it and pretend that it's true now. It would be funny. This is definitely that same guy, man. Like, because I just the whole thing is that he'll start saying things that is like, I think it's a combination of somebody that's not as intelligent as they think they are, and somebody that probably doesn't understand the English language very well. So they will kind of say, they'll make these sentences that kind of seems like they're trying to argue with, be antagonistic, but what they're saying doesn't actually really make sense. Yeah, that one failed too. Of course, they were all long. Oh, did I lose on a short too? No, I didn't lose on a short. I scratched a short though. I think that scratching that short was reasonable. Okay, 10, 11. What's going on here? In the 10-year. It's a strong move up, and now all of a sudden it seems like it's going almost as strongly on the downside. Did steepen a little bit. We do have some Jolt's jobs opening here at the top of the hour. 8.3 million expected. 9.2 million. So not particularly great numbers. Well, I mean, there are more openings basically. Basically means that they're still having trouble hiring people. Hmm. You think they're going to go for those overnight lows? $20K absorbed on the 12 half there. Well, I saw the 10. The thing was, I mean, there was absorption, but there were some really, really aggressive sell orders coming through. Like that whole time period wasn't there. Okay, that one in the treasury was good. So I'm 2 and 2. Not hitting very well in the E-mini though, am I? I should probably tighten this back up. But I don't think that any of these actually did MFE of 8. Nope, none of them did. None of them did. Do you trade NQ? Seems like a great way to snap your neck. Well, right now we're getting pretty decent action in the E-mini that I don't think it matters. But like after the big down move yesterday, when it just kind of sat down there and didn't do anything, that's maybe where I kind of makes sense to trade the NQ, right? But that just doesn't make sense to me as a good reason to trade one instrument over the other, right? I think that you want to trade one instrument over another because you have an edge in that instrument. Yeah. I think that most people go when they want to trade the NQ because it has more volatility. And just because something has more volatility doesn't necessarily mean that you have more edge in it. At first, the NQ seems, well, I mean, you can go in, you have wider stops, and maybe you make your DOM smaller so that you can see it, or you trade on a chart. Like, yeah, I know there's ways to adjust for it, but my question is still, what is the edge that you're getting in the NQ? Right? In the ES, I can watch the order flow and I can play the Q to some extent. But you can't really do that so much. You can do it very much so in the 10-year. So that's why I like the 10-year. Because the edge that I understand the best, it works the best in the 10-year. Nope. I was just thinking about how the past 2 days it's kind of started out with a sell on the open, and it used to be that you would get that every day really, and then there would be a buy the dip, and you really haven't been seeing that buy the dip so much lately, have we? Like the liquidity is being taken out of the market. The banking liquidity is being taken out of the market. So I kind of feel like that the fundamental backdrop that I've been using to make my trade successful in the E-mini isn't really there anymore, and I'm just doing random things. Because even here trying to take 8 ticks out, it's not being very cooperative, is it? So we need to find something new in the E-mini. Well, I was a little bit more encouraging upside action. Let's see if they break free of this node here. OHF says does 1-to-1 with 100 tick target. 100 tick is pretty far, even for NQ. You're looking for a larger winner than I'm normally looking for in ES. Oh, there's John. How are you? We were talking about you yesterday. So I'm going on vacation next week, and they're like, "Oh, have John come back." And I'm like, "Well, he's been like working on his house and stuff. I don't know if he's available." But I'm only going to be gone Monday through Wednesday, so I think we just won't have the stream. We'll be fine. And I am going to spend, because I'm pretty sure that it's going to be one of those, we go to a cabin and the kids all play and I'm not doing anything. So I'm probably going to do a lot of writing and studying. Oh, you're finally done with them? That's good. By the way, another thing, while I'm thinking about it, I'm working on a wiki dealing with history of frauds. So, if any of you are interested in contributing to that, you message me on Discord and I'll give you the information so that you can help me start building it. I don't want it to be a public thing yet. I was just thinking about that because I don't think that would be something that bots would necessarily be interested in writing a bunch of stuff about. But I bet you he could remember a couple of prominent examples. Like I remember him talking about the Woody CCI. That's one that I want to put in there, but I don't know if we have enough information to put it or what. But that's one where maybe you would remember a couple of, long time past frauds that were exposed in the trading space that I should add to my list of things to research. I don't know if the little candle where it came back there on us a little bit is really meaningful or not. Yeah, Bots, I was asking you, like, any examples of fraud in the retail trading space that you can remember that maybe might not be as widely known or remembered? Those are the sorts of things I'm looking for. Woody was quite the friend. Yeah, exactly. See, the thing with that one, I remember you talking about that, but every time that I've tried like searching on the internet about it, I find stuff about him, but I don't find anything about proving that he was front running his chat room. So the issue that I'm going to have if I do this wiki thing is you have to be accurate, right? You're asking me because I'm old. You've certainly been around in the futures trading space longer than anybody else I know. I don't know, man. The E-mini is frustrating me. Maybe it's just because it's been down days and I tried going long. But is there any way we can... Yeah, if he pops into Discord, give me a message on Discord, John, and we can have you pop in. We got 45 minutes left. Treasury is kind of oscillating here. Down at the lows is kind of interesting. Man, it came back down again. Should have just taken the quick profit, apparently. M-Maker 289. If you hosted a link, I can't see it. Put like don't put the .com, don't put any periods in it, just put like the name of the site and I'll search for it. So I tried searching for websites that would maybe have something to do with that, and I couldn't find anything. So I'm definitely interested if you find... Oh, trading schools. I gotcha. Yeah. That's one of my favorite websites. Actually, I haven't checked them in a while. What type of fraud? So I want to make a wiki about all fraud, but I'm particularly interested in fraud relating to day trading and cryptocurrencies. Oh, there's Win. How are you? Someone left the zoo gate doors open and the sprite monkeys got loose and showed up. You know what? I'm like watching this in the E-mini and I'm like, I don't know why I'm doing anything. Financial statement fraud casebook. That's interesting. So like the thing that got me going on it was like there has been so much fraud in the cryptocurrency space, and I can remember, like for instance, BitConnect being a big one. I remember people saying that BitConnect was a fraud the whole time. But then when I go back and I search for information about BitConnect, there's stories about it, but it's not like nearly as much information as I remember people posting like at the time. You know what I mean? And what I was realizing is that like there's so much fraud out there, particularly in the cryptocurrency space, that people basically just forget about them. It's like once the person gets prosecuted, like everybody moves on and forgets about it. So I was like, well, we should start documenting it. So I thought, a wiki would maybe be something that a lot of people would be interested in. So why not? But we just have to have really strict editing guidelines. So like if there's suspected fraud, but you can only post verified information. Only post verified information because you know what's going to happen. And that's why I'm not posting the link yet. Is like I need to get a decent amount of content on there first, and enough that people are interested in reading and going, oh, I want to add stuff too, because it's going to have to get popular quickly. Otherwise, what's going to happen is you're going to make a page about the wrong person and they're going to sue you and you won't have any resources to fight back. You know what I mean? So that's where I was like, okay, so like we gotta have a really good release if we do this. Tim Ferriss has a podcast in the last 2 months or so with a Bitcoin federal prosecutor. Yeah, that's interesting. But I'm more interested in like what a specific case. Like so for instance, the Raging Bull guys. Okay. That's the one that we all know about. So I could go out and I could search for stuff about the Raging Bull guys. I don't know if there's anything out there that would be like particularly interesting beyond like the few stories about that it happened. Okay, that was kind of what. I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, that's kind of what I was looking for. Treasury's at their lows again. You think they'll break through this time? I bet you I could do something like this. Anyways, so if you come across something that's particularly funny or interesting or whatever, reeling with fraud, send it to me so we can add it to the wiki. Peter's saying Bitcoin's moving to closer to 30K. Oh, you know what? We should move this. Should put this up, by the way. 31.47. Yeah, since the open here today, there hasn't been a lot of movement in Bitcoin, but there was some very a lot of technical and analysts, a lot of technical analysts were looking for a break of the consolidating triangle that they had been in, and we saw that yesterday. A pretty conclusive turn down. So there's that. unfortunately, I don't think that any of that stuff really has any real probability of predicting what it's actually going to do in the midterm. That's not happening. You think that the 10-year will oscillate all the way back to 14.5 again? That's the pattern that one's been doing. Yeah, that's what I was saying, like on Raging Bull, like what I would be interested in would be like small anecdotes about things that they did that you're not hearing everywhere. You know what I mean? Like basically the gist of it is, if I were to search for a Raging Bull fraud, why would I prefer to read my wiki versus the Wired News article about it, or wherever it is that there's an article about it, right? So we've got to be able to provide some depth and information beyond what the news articles provide. At least certainly at the beginning. Hindsight on those guys, how did we not realize they were a scam? Well, I think that one of the things that I see quite commonly is that everybody seems to think that they're a scam, but they just end up being massively successful anyways. Who is we? We being anybody that wants to edit the wiki with me. Apparently none of you guys are interested, so that's fine. Fine, I'll do it myself. There's the court case. There you go. Oh, you meant for who's we? Yeah, no. Well, the thing is that with the mass marketing that these people have at their disposal, they're able to get a lot of people. Okay, you know what? I've been able to get like 1 out of 4 for the E-mini here. My target and stop is still a little bit too tight, but I think that 16 is probably a little too far too. But I don't have an edge in this right now. Not in the treasury, not in the E-mini. Is not. Oh, so there's John. Yeah, we could do that. Oh, okay. I got you. Oh, buried in the fine print at the bottom of their websites, the defendants admit that they do not verify the testimonials that they use in advertising and do not track whether consumers who purchase their servers make any money at all, much less the kinds of returns advertises. Yeah. Oh. 14th through the 16th. Just that amount of advertising should have been a big clue. Well, yeah, so this is what I'm learning, is that the organic reach with this sort of a thing is like almost impossible. Anyways, so like, oh man, this is the thing that I just don't get. It was going back to the Overwatch thing, man. So for those of you that weren't here earlier, I started playing Overwatch again. I feel like that the competitive mode is a lot better than it used to be, but there still seems to be like this ELO hell sort of a thing. So like I'll be doing great, and then I'll have like a run of like, 3 losses in a row, and all of a sudden that puts you into this tier of where everybody's so bad that they can't cover for your character's weaknesses, and so it becomes very difficult to climb. And it's like, I think at least that I just have to stop playing that character for now. But it's not like, oh, I'm so awesome at this game, and the matchmaker is just stupid. No, like when you lose that many times in a row, it's like there's something that I'm doing. Obviously, it matters differently at this skill level than the other skill level, because there's definitely been a change where I got worse when I moved down, whereas before I was fine. So what is it that I'm doing wrong? And I have no clue. I guess I haven't gone back through and like analyzed it as hard as I tend to analyze my trading, but I'm doing something wrong. Okay, bot says he'll come in live tomorrow because he's about to head out. Thank you very much. Anyways, I'm doing something wrong when I'm playing Overwatch. And when I look at social media, I feel like the same thing is going on. Like, I've been able to make YouTube videos, and I know what sort of things work well for YouTube videos and don't work well. The problem is a lot of the time what I want, the kind of content that I want to make for YouTube, isn't always going to be the most popular. Like, the things that would be the most popular are things that I don't want to do. Okay, I don't want to go in and make a video series that is road to $1 million and make a big deal out of how much money I am or am not making every day. I think that that's irresponsible. I'm intentionally avoiding that because that's not the audience that I want to attract. But I also can go through and say, okay, what are people searching for? Oh, they want to know about trading hardware. I know a lot about that. I made an awesome video about that gets a lot of traffic, right? So I can figure it out on YouTube. But then when I go to like larger social media, and Reddit in particular, it's like, what the hell is wrong with people? Because if you come on to the day trading subreddit and you just say, here's a moving average crossover strategy, and everybody's like, oh, this is so awesome, thank you so much. But then if I come in and I'm like, here is an empirical fact about markets that has been researched over 30 years, and they're like, no, you're wrong, that's not. Like, what? You're gonna contradict or you're gonna question 30 years of scholarly research, all of these professors and people that know, like, are top experts in the world about this thing? You don't believe it. But then when somebody says you can make money off of this moving average crossover and they don't give you any proof, you completely buy into it. Like, what the hell am I doing that makes it so that they so easily believe all of these other people, and something about when they read my post, they don't believe it? I don't get it. Or what if I post a video, if it's a good video, I'll post it on Reddit, doesn't get any traction. Often, almost always gets downvoted. Like it's 0, it'll just sit at 1. And then these other people, they post just these absolutely stupid, awful videos that are brain dead, dumb, and they take off. What am I doing wrong there? I don't get it. Or TikTok. man, there's this one, well, on TikTok, I know what it is, right? On TikTok, it's that same thing that's like, if you come in and you say, I'm making so much money. Oh my gosh, guys, look, I'm $1 million today. And no, they eat that up for some reason. There's these people, there's this one lady on TikTok that is trading on Ninja Trader, and she shows her window. Oh my gosh, it's so bad. I can't remember her name anymore. Like that guy in Facebook, not many names, but he just posts indicator posts of a chart, and people run with him because he's so exactly. It's exactly. And then when I get on the Facebook groups, they ignore me. I mean, even if I'm posting a lot, it's really weird. It's really weird. And like here's the thing that's mind-boggling to me is I'm sitting here and I'm like, hey guys, everything that you trade is priced in dollars. Therefore, watching the dollar index would be an important thing to add into your trading. And most retail traders don't have access to that. But with my indicator suite, we calculate it synthetically so that you can plot a chart of the dollar index and watch it minute by minute. Nobody cares. I don't like what? Like, that makes sense. I'm like, I'm giving you something that everybody should be using. And nobody cares. And I'm like, is it the thing that I'm promoting, or do people just hate me for some reason? I found the 24 people here on YouTube that can bear me, and everybody else just thinks I'm an asshole. So, something like that. But it's like, these aren't people that know me. It's like something about the language that I'm using turns them off. I don't get it. It's so weird to me. If I was making videos, I would wink at the appropriate times so the folks who know better will be warned. Yeah, I just want to point out that Twitch TV got so retarded with bathtubs and chat channel that they created a pools and tubs. Yes, that thing is, you know what? I'm so glad that I'm not on Twitch. That's all I'm going to say about that. I'm gonna put that out there again. Yeah. So anyways, it's like, it's not people that know me. So it has to be something to do with how I'm writing things, right? Okay. So anyways, what you realize is that getting organic traction on these sorts of really niche subjects in day trading is really hard, basically because it makes money, and so people are willing to pay advertising for it, and so to get traction you have to advertise for it. That's the conclusion that I've made. So that's why all of these scams do this. They hike the price up so that they can put a ton of money into the advertising, right? Like, imagine how different it would be if I was paying 12 of you guys, $20 to upvote the post on Reddit, right? Then I would be taking off on Reddit every day. And I think that's what happens. Do you think having educational content and live streaming videos together in one channel is hindering you? YouTube algos, I imagine, would treat it very differently. I'm not sure. So I've looked into that a lot, Trade Trotter. And the conclusion that I've made is that the YouTube algorithm treats every video differently. But it does also like to promote specific content creators to you. So if you go and you search for, back testing algorithms, then you might come across one of my videos, and that's how you find my channel. And then you like and subscribe, and then you'll follow. And yeah, sometimes you'll see the live stream and you don't care about that, but then you'll see the the video that's from a weekly and it's on a subject that you're interested in anyways, it's going to show it to you anyways. And so for me, the like people see it on the front page and they click it and you go viral sort of a thing, that's not going to be very common for me anyways. So I'm pretty confident that the effect that having the live streams and everything else on the same channel have is negligible. And if it was a problem, what I could do is I could hide the live streams. So like, basically you see the live stream when I'm live and you can see it in a playlist, but it's hidden so it doesn't get recommended to people and it recommends the other videos. But I don't really think that has an impact. And the other thing is that there are other day traders that do similar sorts of things and they don't do anything special like that. So maybe it has an impact, but I don't think that that's like a major problem. And like the bigger thing, Trade Trotter, is that I personally feel that the YouTube channel does way better than I ever imagined and hoped. Like the amount, when I started this out, I was like, well, if we can just get enough subscribers that we're getting like a decent amount of income that we can put back into the stream, that would be great. And we have done that. And I've invested. So we have a nice camera. I have nice lighting. I have a teleprompter now, which should help us make more videos. Like I've been able to invest a lot back into the stream just from what YouTube gives you from advertising. So I say the YouTube channel does really great. It's the other things that I'm kind of like, I don't get. Like if I just try and explain a market concept to people, they don't believe me. Or, like my indicator suite, there's not a ton of people looking for the indicator suite. That's all. That's what I'm complaining about. The YouTube is one of the few places where I'm like, that's great. Obviously, I'm not like 100,000 subscribers, but we're almost to 6, and 6 was like when I started this. If you had told me that I'd get over 1,000, I would have been like, "Oh, you're crazy." From a stats perspective, Humble Trader seems to be, yeah. So actually, you can. So this kind of becomes an interesting thing, right? Oh man, I didn't get 11.5. That sucks. I will do that. Man, see, I've searched it before. I watched the space. So when you come down here and you look at monthly gained video views, so oh man, I remember seeing her long before that. I don't know. That seems wrong to me. Oh no, wait. Yeah, April 2020. Yep, that's about right. Yep. So around the time of the pandemic, in late 2019, she had a couple of videos, and that had her at a pretty good spot, right? Do you see here? She had like 19,000 subscribers or something like that. And then the pandemic came along and she just kind of took off. But you see how it's like she had like that one time when she did really good and then it kind of trailed off. So it kind of seems to me like she got like some really good content through and people have kind of lost interest. But I mean, that's I shouldn't say that. I should just say, her stats have peaked. Nothing against her, but her stats peaked. Then if we come over and we look at like, say, trades by Matt, he's probably the most similar to our channel, right? So for him, he had a couple of well, it was really July, huh? He had a couple of crazy things happen like early on that got him like really far up there. And then since then, it's kind of just been like, I get her videos a lot in my other Discord, and I don't know why. Nothing valuable, really. Because again, it's like, it's just like the exposure is so crazy. Like, here. I'm disappointed in that trade. The 12. Probably shouldn't take it again because clearly 11.5 is not. They're not begging to go into it. But I'm also disappointed in the MES that like I could have gotten. Maybe could have gotten along. I guess when I was going along before, it was 22, 23. So, but there was a pretty good uptrend there just now. But it's too late. You definitely look at the media presence. Yeah, but and I would say that it's probably mostly organic. I don't think that she's ever gone out and has people pushing for her or anything like that. It's just that she had a couple of videos that took off. Here you go. I should go further back. There you go. Okay. So like, oh, how do I? Oh, that's stupid. There we go. Okay. So here we go. This is for the past 3 months subscribers. Oh, that's not views by videos. Isn't what we wanted. We wanted subscribers. There you go. Just the total. Okay. So look, like these are individual days. On the average day, there are 10 subscribers to this channel. Okay. So just during this time period, I think that it ends up being 500 subscribers in the last 3 months. Where do these people come from? YouTube shows them the video, they look at it, they like it, they subscribe. And like, to me, it's mind-boggling that every day, without me even doing anything, 10 people will subscribe to my channel. That's crazy. Isn't that insane? Right? And then think about how it scales. Like if I had 10,000 subscribers or 20,000 subscribers, I had a video that really truly went viral. Okay. And you get up into that area and all of a sudden you're getting like 100 subscribers a day without even doing anything. And these people then all of a sudden are out on Reddit sharing your, every time that they say, hey, what's your favorite YouTuber? They go, oh, Speculator Seth. And then, like that's how it goes. I throw your Discord out on Facebook. Yeah, the Discord link is pretty good. I actually think, though, that they're pretty close now in terms of like number of people that have been through. I think that the Discord has broken 10K, but anyways, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy, right? But again, one of the big caveats here is that usually the way that you get a day trading channel to take off on YouTube is you make this video that says, I made $1,000, and everybody wants to know, oh, how did you do it? That's how I found you the other day. Oh, Brent, are you man, are you Jackal? So I had a friend from a website that I used to post on really my true home I am a refugee. Really, is what happened. Was we were Unreal. The Unreal Tournament was my true online home, and it was destroyed. And I have been a refugee ever since, and I haven't found a true home. And one of the guys from there was like, "Hey, are you this guy from this gaming website?" And I was like, "How did you find me?" I was really surprised. I was like, "Man, I must be doing a really bad job of hiding like private information if they can tell that easily." Brent says, "Nah." Oh, so you must be somebody else. Yeah, the YouTube will recommend the video to you, right? I think if that's what you're saying, is it the video was recommended to you, or was it because of? I don't know. Anyways, I need to make more videos like, well, I don't know. So like the computer hardware video was a good video, right? I think I want to make another one just about monitors. Rhetorical triangle of persuasion, appeal to ethos, logos, pathos. Well, so I think, yeah. Okay, I got enough time to go into this. You remember that video? Did I show you guys this? What was it? What was it called? We're almost at the top of the hour. Do you have a minute? Oh, you know what? We should be putting the titles in earlier. I should have put in earlier. Markets the decline. Or no, internet website outages cause market decline. That's what I'm going to put in the title, even though we like totally recovered and everything, but that's the clickbaity title. Yeah. There we go. So here's my take on the convincing people of stuff. Okay. So here's this game. Con 'em if you can. Play now. It uses Unity. Hey, not bad. How much did you make today? I did terrible today, I would say. So the E-minis were terrible. Oh man, the E-minis were so terrible. I don't even want to show you that. Like I'm so embarrassed. Well, I mean, it's not like I'm embarrassed. I shouldn't say it like that. In the summer I tend to do poorly, so I wouldn't look for my trade in there. When I look at in the treasury, I lost one tick. I think there was those two trades in the middle. I probably shouldn't have taken that one, but that first one that I took, I thought was a really great trade. I thought that was, that's the kind of trade that I want to take. So I guess we take what you can get, but what I'm doing in the E-mini right now it's just moving randomly, and unless there's some sort of piece of news for me to trade off of, I mean, it doesn't seem like the technical side of the trading is working right now. Okay, so this thing right here, con 'em if you can. So they have these different tools that you use to con people, essentially. But when you think about it, these there's reasons why these things work, right? So there's phantom riches, source credibility, scarcity, social consensus, and reciprocity. Right? So when you think about it, these are the heuristics that people use to determine if they're going to believe you or not. Right? And why, bro? Why should I watch? Well, you don't have to watch if you don't want to. I don't. I mean, the whole. Well, I'll get to that point here in a second. But okay, so these are the heuristics that people use to if they couldn't believe you about something. Is it going to be beneficial to me? Are they credible? Like, do they actually have the chops to be the credible source on this particular thing? Are they providing me opportunities that I can't find elsewhere? Do other people believe them? And then reciprocity is kind of maybe a little bit of a different of a category. You know what I mean? But these are all heuristics that people use to determine if they believe somebody or not, that scammers exploit quite effectively to take their money. And when you look at every single one of these things, and you try and apply it to day trading, it's like, oh, like that actually hurts you. Okay, so phantom riches, chasing after where the money is right now, you got to be in before the money hits. And if you're just chasing after it, then you're always going to lose. So this kind of these big false promises and like this, you can't lose sort of a thing, like that's really harmful to your trading. So could I use that to promote myself? Could I make a video that says, oh, I made $1,000 to attract people to my YouTube channel? Yes. And it would be very effective, but it would not be effective at the goal of the channel, which is to get better at day trading and to help other people get better at day trading, right? Source credibility. So here on this one, I mean, I guess you can go on in the source. I've been doing it for 4 years. I used to work at one of the big banks. But here again, does the source of the information necessarily matter as much as the information itself? Like if you have a piece of information that is good, that's going to matter. And again, like if it's information that's not very common, that's going to be better. So you may actually want to pay attention to sources that, don't necessarily, like random people on Twitter, they tell you stuff and then you look it up and you say, oh, they are correct. And yes, that would affect that stock and you can trade off of that sort of a thing. You get what I mean? Scarcity. Well, you do want to get into something, that doesn't have a lot of supply coming into it. But here again, it's the same kind of problem as phantom riches. I think these two are kind of the same. Social consensus, though, this one is the worst one, because if you have a trading strategy and everybody knows about it, then it's already going to be arbitraged out of the market. So looking for social consensus in terms of who you want to follow for day trading makes zero sense at all. Right? So here again, why would I want to try and promote my channel off of the idea of social consensus? Everybody loves Speculator Seth. It's the most popular YouTube trading channel for futures trading, etc., etc., right? It doesn't make sense. And reciprocity, it's like, well, I do give you guys stuff, so I give you free stuff all the time. So kind of the whole point of it was like, yeah, so there are things that we could do to promote the channel more, and we should certainly make better videos. That's the thing that will help the channel out. But all of these other things, I'm not interested in that, even if I know that it would make the channel more popular, because it's detrimental to the real conclusion here. Yeah, there you go. He's like, I only want to see some action, not anything else. Good, then leave. You're exactly the kind of person that I don't want here. No offense, dude. But here again, like if you want to come in and watch Seth trade and do exactly what Seth is and steal all of his strategies, get lost. I'm not interested. appeal to ethos. Everybody loves speculators that we are rather. Thanks. I think that we're just going through a rough patch because this is the way that the market goes, and it's good that I recognize that and that I'm not putting risk on the table right now. Right? See, I stayed on the experimental account the whole time. And none of those were live. I think that my trading in the treasury was okay, but there's certainly room for improvement there. I don't think that what I did there was like what I'm doing doesn't work. I think that it's kind of more that when you should take it and when you should not is a very fine point, and I still have a lot to learn there. In the E-mini, though, this is just random, man. I'm looking at them and I'm like, I have reasons behind why I'm doing it in my head, but I don't think that they're very good ones. And in the end, it's like, these are really just random entries. And how I did random entries and lost every time is like, I tried going long too many times, I guess, and my stop was too short, but. So, but more to the point, we need to continue researching for edges that we can find in the E-mini that are more reliable on a technical basis, because man, that's going to be awfully hard to find. It may just be the case. I may have to start considering the possibility that kind of technical edge for the E-mini is not something that I'm going to find, and that I have to learn to just sit on my hands unless there's a tradable news. Because that's kind of what it's looking like. It is like when the news is going and stuff, I get some really great trades, and otherwise it sometimes, especially in the summer, it just gets dismal. Can't let his head get too big. Wow. I appreciate that you guys on this stream enjoy watching the channel and come back a lot, because otherwise I would be like ripping my hair out like, what is wrong with the world? I don't get it. Yeah. Okay, guys. Stay profitable, friends.